to dig up an old picture from quite a few years ago, and I seem to remember that house right there was an attraction at the time. It wasn't a place where somebody lived in. I'll dig up the old picture and I'll post it up. So I don't know much about trains, and I'm not a train buff, but I think the old steam locomotives are pretty cool. And I remember seeing this one up here before. And this one here, according to the notes, it worked here from 1926 to 1928. And then it was sold back to this area back in 1990, and they transported it back up here to keep it and hopefully restore it someday and have a piece of history. So I'm gonna go ring the bell. I hear it works. There, I did it. I got a sticker. So here I'm walking around the museum that they have in place here with some of the old artifacts. So I kind of heard about this, and I never had it confirmed until I got here, but Sandon was the birthplace of a NHL hockey player that made it to the Hockey Hall of Fame. And here's some pictures of him right here. Cecil Thompson. Yeah, Cecil Thompson was with the Boston Bruins, and he led them to the Stanley Cup, and that was in 1928. He had a 12-year NHL career, 4 Vezina Trophy wins. He was only 5'10", 160 pounds. So he was born here. And that's one of the notable figures that came out of Sandon. Okay, so I just went through the museum there, and it was kind of cool because it confirmed some of the stuff that I was able to research online is accurate, but I did learn a few things I never knew. So this is the area where Sandon was, and Sandon was quite a thriving community. This area behind me. Now I'm going to do a lot of pictures here because from 1891 to 1900, this was a boom city, and it changed so fast, and it got very congested and lots of buildings. And it built up so fast that they kind of neglected, the safety side of things and fire halls and stuff like that. So in 1900, they had a massive fire that ripped through town and just took everything away. And all the mines were still operating. It was a very rich area for silver. So of course the focus was to rebuild the town, and the town was nowhere near what it was prior to the fire. But they built it up again. It became a town. It became a thriving town again with schools and everything like that. And around the 1920s, it was back to its, not a glory days, but it was a busy town. And then in the 1930s, all the market went downhill quite a bit for minerals, and it basically almost turned into a ghost town. And then in the 1930s, 1940s, this turned into a Japanese internment camp, like I was talking about there, because it was basically a ghost town, but all the infrastructure was here. And the Korean War is when the mineral prices went back up again, and this place picked up again substantially for 2 to 3 years, and then I think it was 1955 it finally closed down. Now when it closed down, and part of the reason is because they had a flood that ripped through town and basically destroyed things all over again. They had diverted the creek there for mining operations, and one year when they had a massive winter with the snow melt, and it just roared through town and just took everything out. So after that, is when it turned into a real ghost town. There was one person who lived here for the longest time, and it basically stopped this place from turning into Mother Nature again. And it stayed like that for decades. And I guess in the 1990s is when the province turned this into a historical site. And that's when everything slowly started turning into what it is today, into a museum and a historical location. But some of the pictures through that museum are just fascinating. And so I'm going to show some of them. That's what I got to learn about this area. But it's such a gorgeous area with the ravine here. And it's just another one of those hidden gems, Sandon BC. There we go, Kevin. I came all the way to Sandon for ice cream. You're right, ice cream and riding does go hand in hand. Boy, how come going downhill always seems so much steeper than going uphill? Here it is, a freshly graded road, so it's pretty loose. And when I was coming up to Sandon, the uphill didn't seem as extreme as the downhill does right now. You know, it is funny, I've looked at different GoPro videos before when you take a look at downhill grades or uphill grades, and the video just doesn't do it any justice. So I don't know why it looks more extreme in real life than it does when you produce a video. So one thing that I did discover up at the museum that I never knew before is right where this trailhead is, right on this corner intersection. At the time that the mines were operating, there was a town here called Three Forks. And this town was 2,000 people that lived here on this corner. And there's absolutely no remnants of that town right now. Everything's 100% gone. But this area had 2,000 residents with all the supporting business and schools and churches. And there's nothing here whatsoever. Not even an acknowledgement or a sign. But I did get a picture of Three Forks from up in the museum, which I'll post here. So pretty soon we're going to be getting to the end of 31A heading west. So the one thing I did forget to mention about Sandon there is I was talking to one of the guys in the museum, and he actually works at the mine. The mine is still operating there, that one Klondike mine. And the current ore that they have into the mountain chasing the seams for silver and other rare earth metals, they're about a mile into the mountain. That's how far that they've cored into it with fingers and spurs that come off of it. I find that actually amazing that they can go a mile into the mountain in search of metals. Welcome to New Denver. So we're getting close to the end of the highway, 31A. You know, it's kind of too bad that we didn't do that on one of those days with crystal clear blue skies, because it's absolutely amazing.